Hey guys, what's going on? I am here next to an insane amount of books. It's a hoard, I'll admit, which makes me a hoarder, but that's okay. We're here celebrating 1,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much. It's been awesome. I know I'm a little late on this, but my wife and I were on a trip. It was actually our honeymoon, which was a little delayed, but that's all right. And I picked up a few more books on that trip to add to this hoard. So let's start it off here. They were all $1 or $2, except for these couple I'm about to show you. City by Simak, which I've been looking for a long time. This is the book club edition. I would have preferred a smaller paperback, but I will read this. I've been excited for this one. That one was $5, I think. And this one I bought new. I know, new. Radio Free Albemuth by Philip K. Dick. I haven't heard of this one, but I currently don't have any Philip K. Dick on my TBR, which is a rarity for me. I tear through this guy's stuff. It's always an easy read. I mean, I say easy read, it's not always an easy read. It's actually never an easy read, but I always eat it up. It's always a quick read, and it always gives me a lot to think about. I always like to have the option of reading Philip K. Dick, and now, once again, I do. It was a nice little independent bookshop, which I like to support. I don't do it often, but I did this time, and it feels good. I have two signed books here. The first one, The Collected Stories of Greg Bear. It is a very intimidating book. Admittedly, I only read a few stories, but here it is. The man himself at the Science Fiction Museum, which is a thing that I also just learned about after reading this signature. And I'm not sure where it is. I will look it up because I'm interested as well, and I'll put it here. All right, what else? My God, this is overwhelming, but one book at a time here. The Forever War, Joe Haldeman. A lot of people in my top 10 video had assumed I'd never read this book because it wasn't on my list. I honestly wasn't a big fan. I'm probably gonna alienate some people with that. People were saying, how could I have Old Man's War on the list and not The Forever War? I find that very easy to believe. I mean, I like the book, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't blown away by it. Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. Awesome book. I like this cover more than the one that I read. Beautiful condition. Gotta have that in the bookstore. And that's the other thing. I need your guys' help here. I have all these books. A lot of them are gonna be eBay fodder, but I need help picking out the good ones. So, anything I should read in here, let me know. Most of them I'm gonna sell. I can't justify keeping even 10% of these, but maybe 5%. So I need your help in figuring out what that 5% is. And I'll try and be open with what I have read and what I haven't read, and maybe what I'm interested in. Like this one, Philip K. Dick, Man in the High Castle. I've read this. You find this book pretty often. Not so much anymore because the show is kind of old news by now, but I can't help but buy these. Beautiful book. Love Philip K. Dick. You already knew that. Parable of the Sower. I read this one. I reviewed it a few videos ago. I liked it, and it is a sought-after book. It's in good condition. I also have the Parable of the Talents, which is the sequel, I believe. I did like Parable of the Sower. I'm not hungry for more, but I did like Butler's writing style, so I might put that on my TBR. Roadside Picnic. I will definitely be putting this on my TBR. Was looking for it for a long time. I finally found it at a library sale. Beautiful condition. Although, just yesterday I actually found this edition of Roadside Picnic at a used bookstore up in Maine, which I do enjoy better aesthetically. And I wonder if it's a different translation. It is. This is a new translation. So I'll have to look up which people prefer more. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. My wife was actually flipping through it on the car ride home, looking at some of the character names. And I'm not sure if they were humans or aliens, but she was saying, good luck with that one. And it's true, it's Russian, and I often have an issue with foreign names, foreign character names in books, but I'm trying to get better at it, and that'll be good practice. We have the 42nd anniversary edition of Hitchhiker's Guide. I found all these at that same library sale that I found Roadside Picnic at. An incredible find, brand new, on red. And if you're confused about why they would put out a 42nd anniversary edition, I'm not sure I can tell you. I don't know if that's considered spoilers. But these are awesome. These are beautiful. I have read the first one. I was told to stop there. I mean, I'm sure they're all fine, but after the first one, they're nothing to write home about. If you feel differently, let me know. I do have The Restaurant at the End of the Universe on my TBR currently, And actually, I have been going through and reading some comedy books, which is going to be my next review video. 3 books that are funny, question mark, maybe? Artemis, Andy Weir. A lot of Andy Weir hate out there, which I find bizarre. I mean, I get it, it's sometimes kind of bland and sometimes kind of basic, but like my wife and I were eating at a gas station restaurant the other day, and we got our food and we ate it, and we're like, yeah, how'd you like it? What would you rate that? Because it was exactly what I expected, right? Am I gonna give it 5 out of 5? No. But is it fair to give it 3 out of 5? Also no, because it's what I expected. It satisfied my expectations. So can that be a 5 out of 5? I don't know. Red Shirts, John Scalzi. I just read this book. I enjoyed it. It's going to be in my next review video. Beautiful copy. Great concept. Was it funny? That's the question. The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. Never heard of this. Published by Tor. Looks like pretty modern science fiction. Obviously the cover drew me in, and it looks brand new. I don't know anything about this, but those are kind of my colors right there. Pink, deep royal purple, a teal. I would have preferred a bright green, a bright alien green in the middle there, but you know, can't be perfect. Next we got some Delaney. I and Gamora, short stories it looks like. I'm looking for Dahlgren. I had someone recommend that to me and it seems right up my alley. I found a whole bunch of Simac at a big used book barn up in Maine. It was called like the Chicken Book Barn. It's good stuff. You walk in there and you get slammed with that used book smell. It's like a wall. It's beautiful. They Walked Like Men. I love the abstract art on all of these. I don't know how much the author, how much say they have in what the art is, but Simac always seems to have good ones. Cosmic Engineers, which was in my last haul as well. The Goblin Reservation. That's intriguing. Why Call Them Back from Heaven? Again, this abstract design. I love it. Strangers in the Universe. Berkeley, 35 cents. And here we got an edition of Stranger in a Strange Land, which claims to be an underground novel, which I'm confused about. How is this an underground novel? Was it not well known when it was first out? Also, who uses a paperclip as a bookmark? Barbaric. And we got some Arthur C. Clarke, Imperial Earth, in like brand new condition. Beautiful. Beautiful. And we got a few more Greg Bear paperbacks, Eon and Legacy. I have not read Greg Bear past the few short stories I got through in that massive tome. I do have Blood Music on my TBR. That comes highly recommended, so I'm excited for that one. Oh, I also picked up The Sirens of Titan recently, which I am very excited about finding this one. Unfortunately, it's the different edition in the one I collect, but I think I've decided I'm just going to collect both editions. Seems like a sane reaction, right? Almost finished with it, really enjoying it. It's going to be in my next review video. Children of Men, P.D. James. One of the few instances where I enjoyed the movie more than the book. Not that the book was bad, but the movie is a masterpiece, honestly. I love that movie. Some more modern stuff here. Gideon the Ninth, which I have heard about on the internet multiple times. So when I saw it for $1, I figured it would sell. And I am going to link my eBay store in the description. You know, I'm not a salesman. Like, you see what I pay for the books, you see where I get the books. If you're interested, check out my eBay store. And there's the worst sales pitch you'll ever hear. All right. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, Heinlein, new edition. I read this book a little while ago, very dry, very boring. But when you give it the antiquity bonus, considering the fact that it was written in, what, 1966? That's later than I thought. This was the edition that I read. Not the same one, obviously that's on my shelf, but the same design, which kind of has this like cellophane wrapper, which often peels off. So I'll see this in a store, I'll get excited, but then you see the cover and it's all peeled up and gross looking. This one's seen some better days as well. Got like smashed somewhere along the way. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which I've wanted to read for a long time. I finally found the Penguin edition, which you know I collect, which you know I love. So that's going on my TBR for sure. Okay. Expanse novels. We got number 2. We got number 2. We got number 3. We got number 3. We got number 3. Then we got number 5. And we got number 6. I don't know if these sell, how well these sell. They're pretty big, so they'd be a pain to like ship. And obviously I was hoping for like full sets, but seems like you see 1, 2, and 3 a lot more than anything else. Oh, and there's also, I have the slip case on it, 1, 2, and 3. That'll be a much easier sale, I imagine. Okay, that was a lot of books right there. And I also have the Free Body Problem. I always forget what the actual name of this is. Was it like the Earth's Remembrance series or something weird and easily forgettable like that? I mean, Obama liked it, so what more do you need? Really, what more do you need? Okay, we got some Aliens novelizations, Alan Dean Foster. I guess this is the first one, maybe? And I found these omnibuses, not 1, 2, and 3, unfortunately. We got 2. I like these though. They seem very collectible. I imagine they are pretty saleable online. And we got volume 5, and we got volume 6. Oh, I see. There are multiple novels in each one. This one was Original Sin and DNA War. This one's Cauldron and Steel Egg. And this one's Genocide and Alien Harvest. Very cool. And I found these Marvel books. They were essentially free, so I figured, especially with having 6 of them, I could lot them up and sell them for some amount of money. Not sure. And we got some Star Wars books. I've sold a number of these before. Some of them are worth a good amount of money. Some of them are worth nothing. I forget if I looked these up or not. Outbound Flight. Dark Force Rising. Fatal Alliance. These kind of things, it's worth a lot to the right person. Which is a lot of what I have here. You know, Star Wars, Marvel, Aliens, kind of niche stuff. The Wind-Up Girl, which I have read a while ago. I remember enjoying it, but not exceedingly so. It dragged a little bit. I liked the premise. I liked the world. He was really good at world building. It was a cool, like, biological post-climate change dystopia. And we got some more Andy Weir, Project Hail Mary, which I haven't read. This is the first time I found it. You know I don't like hardcover books, so I'm going to be very resistant to putting this on my TBR. But we'll see. We'll see if I have the taste for some Weir. Alright, got a bunch of vintage stuff here. The End of the World, which is an anthology. Got a bunch of big names in there. Heinlein, Asimov, Dick. The Ruins of Earth. Similar big names in there. Got Vonnegut. I wonder what Vonnegut story's in here. Deer in the Works. I've never even heard of that one. I bet Vonnegut has a lot of short stories I haven't heard of. I read Welcome to the Monkey House, but outside of that. One Against the Legion by Jack Williamson. Giant Mosquito Boss. Cool. The Reefs of Space by Jack Williamson and Frederick Pohl. And also I have 2 of these somehow, but different cover art. Hard to say which one I like better, actually. It's a close battle there. Which one do you think? I'm leaning towards this one. I'm leaning towards that one. But they both have their own merits. Got some of these old school Le Guin Earthsea books, which I find pretty often. I don't know if I have a full set of them yet, but I love the vintage feel to them. I love the artwork. Oh, I showed it to you out of order. Oh, party foul. Here's the first one, The Wizard of Earthsea. Beautiful. There's the second one, The Tombs of Atuan, perhaps? I only read the first one of these a while ago. It was one of those, I feel like I missed the boat on it. Yeah, I enjoyed it well enough, but it was very obviously aimed at not me. The Furthest Shore, that's the one you already saw. It's got some H.G. Wells here, War of the Worlds. A watermill classic. I see these pretty often. They seem kind of cheap in my experience. Not very sought after, but very collectible. I like the minimalistic feel of this cover, but admittedly, I like this cover a lot more. That's got the War of the Worlds and the Time Machine in it. It's got this Shrike looking thing on it. A very interesting rendition of the, what I assume to be the invading alien forces on the War of the Worlds. It's like a steampunk. Normally it's like, oh, he's sleek looking, right? but a different take, which I like a lot. All right, what else we got here? 50 Short Science Fiction Tales, edited by Asimov, and you'll see our buddy there from Second Foundation, the artwork, in the Zero, which actually I have right here. Second Foundation, all by itself. I don't have the other ones. But I have these Lucky Star books by Asimov, which I think are aimed at young kids. I'm not sure. I haven't looked these up. For some reason, I just get that feel about them. Here's book 1 and book 2. It's Asimov writing as Paul French, a name I have never heard before. R is for Rocket, Ray Bradbury. Haven't read this one. I've read a lot of Bradbury, not recently though. Maybe I need some Bradbury in my life, at least on my TBR. I Sing the Body Electric. There was actually like 3 copies of this right next to each other on the shelf, which is not a great sign, but who knows. Kind of like a schoolyard edition of the Martian Chronicles there. I read this one. I really like this one. I really like this one. Far and above anything else I've read of Bradbury. I read The Illustrated Man. I read Something Wicked This Way Comes. And I read one of his books of short stories. Couldn't tell you which one. Dandelion Wine. Wonder what this one is about. Does not look science fiction at all. Looks like some kind of whimsical, nostalgic tale. But who knows? I don't know. All right, we got some book club editions here, starting with Venus Incorporated by Frederick Pohl and C.M. Kornbluth. This looks like one of those books that may be a masterpiece, but the cover is just not very enticing and it may have fallen to the wayside over the years. I mean, the cover is interesting in that I don't remember seeing another science fiction cover that looks like that. Just a guy in a business suit in a spaceship. I don't know. The Cool War by Frederick Pohl. Very clearly War of the World inspired spaceship right there. A Case of Conscience, James Blish. This comes highly recommended. I have not read James Blish before. Wonder if this is a good place to start, perhaps. Let me know. Midworld by Alan Dean Foster. Another one I've heard a lot about. It's in like this protective sleeve as well. Very cool. Oh, first hardcover edition. But I thought it was a book club edition. It's not first edition. Like they don't have any information like that on the information page. I don't know. Got some learning to do, I guess. And The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. Bit of a battered copy there. There's the man himself on his bicycle, because I learned he was afraid of cars. So he rode his bicycle everywhere. Fun fact for you today. All right, we've got a lot more vintage stuff over here. Playboy Press, The Future Is Now. Haven't seen one of these before. Very creepy cover, especially for Playboy. Yeah. The Silent Multitude by DJ Compton. I want to start collecting these Ace special editions, but I've already sold one, so that seal has been broken. It's imperfect. I can't collect another thing. Okay, dodge that one. Children of the Void by William Dexter. I love this cover. Beautiful beast. The Last Transaction by Malzberg. Haven't heard of that guy ever, which is rare. You know, normally when I'm going through these, I've heard of the author or I've heard of the series or something, but I know nothing about this guy. Theodore Sturgeon, Starshine. Obviously, I've heard of Theodore Sturgeon before. I've read a few short stories of his. A Saucer of Loneliness being my favorite. That's a good one. Okay, and we've hit the Dune pocket. We have, of course, Dune in this Ace edition. And this Ace edition. It's funny to think these two books hold the same story, right? Like, how much smaller is the text? Significantly smaller. And these are the editions that just took the artwork and made it smaller, which I'm not a huge fan of, but these are in such beautiful mint condition that I'm just happy to have them. We got them all, except for the first one, unfortunately. So these might be one where I seek out the first one in order to sell them all as a set. Although, honestly, I really need to read Dune. That was definitely the #1 question mark of people on my top 10. Something just fell out of that book. Is Dune? Where's Dune? And it's not on there because I haven't read it. By the end of the year, I'm going to try and read Dune. It's my promise to you and myself. Someone was using a piece of Christmas wrapping paper as a bookmark to Pop Pop from Shelby and Ryan. And here we got some older editions. Children of Dune. Everyone's favorite Shai Hulud, God Emperor of Dune, which again was on that other edition, just smaller. And you can see it just is a lot better when you have the full picture. And we got some book club editions. Oh yeah. Dune Messiah, beautiful. Beautiful. And here's the man himself on the back. At work. Running out of room to put these books. Heretics of Dune. Love the vintage feel of these. And you know I'm not into hardcover books, so definitely going to put these for sale. Beautiful condition. And again, the man himself. And Chapter House Dune. And when I'm selling these books, I just show you how they look. I show you the condition. I give you pictures of all the flaws. You know, I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to inject any kind of artificial value into these. They're books. If you want them, great. If you don't, also great. There's an older picture of Herbert. Before we depart from the Dune pocket, I found this one recently, which admittedly I bought because it was ugly, and I feel bad about that now. I mean, it's a book in its own right. It's going to tell you the same story. But I really don't like this skinny paperback feel. Although now that I'm looking at it next to a regular book, it's the same width. But it feels skinny. It's got the wrong dimensions or something. I don't like it. But I realize that that's mostly unfounded, I think. Okay. So Close to Home by James Blish. Again, have not read any Blish, but I want to. Anywhen by James Blish. I've seen this format of book before by James Blish, which I'm always on the lookout for. First one I found. A Case of Conscience. So if you recommend this book, I have a paperback, which I much prefer to read as opposed to the hardcover. The Human Angle by William Tenn. Love this artwork here. You know I love the abstract ones. Stand on Zanzibar, John Brunner. A lot going on there. A lot going on there. Haven't read anything by him. Out of This World by Marilyn May. Jesus, this is an 80s cover. Straight from the 80s. Like YA, perhaps? It's like on a football field. 1986. Indeed. Thrice Upon a Time, James Hogan. The Earth is Near by Ludek Pesek. There's one I haven't heard of before, but I am intrigued by the cover. And I love this gradient in the back here. Love when the old sci-fi uses pink. Pink, bright green, that's what I love. Doomsday Wing, George Smith. We're hitting a pocket here I don't know much about. Got some H.P. Lovecraft in here for some reason. I don't know how that snuck in. This is very nostalgic to me though. I read these when I was in high school. That image of the eye back there, that does it for me. It's an old analog anthology. And we got The Explorers by C.M. Kornbluth. Haven't read anything by Kornbluth, but I would like to. This book is tearing itself apart, unfortunately. A little rough. And I always note that kind of stuff when I'm in the listing on eBay. We got some Amber books by Zelazny. I believe this is science fiction and not fantasy. Got Sign of Chaos here. And Blood of Amber here. I've run into a few of these. Actually, I think I have like 3 copies of this one for some reason. Here's one I'm excited about. The Mote in God's Eye. And it's got the cover that everybody loves. But look at that sticker blocking the best part. Come on, man. Well, maybe not the best part. It's kind of a tie for what the best part of this cover is. Gotta love that. Beautiful stuff. And from what I hear, a great book. Maybe 10 of these are going on my TBR. And Andre Norton, who I have not read any of, but I got some here. Here's Cat's Eye, which kind of looks borderline fantasy. I don't know much about the author. The Defiant Agents. I like the formatting of these though, like a comic book or something. The Stars Are Ours! Exclamation point in the title. That's how you know it's exciting. Oh, some more Andre Norton. Exiles of the Stars. Intriguing. Here's Babel 17 by Delaney, which I might put on my TBR. Like I said, I'd much rather read Dahlgren, but I don't have Dahlgren. I got Babel 17, which I have heard good things about as well. Found this Rendezvous with Rama with the peekaboo cover. I just saw someone use that term for the first time, and that describes it exactly, the peekaboo cover. I love adding terms to my vocabulary. Arthur C. Clarke, The City and the Stars. I want to put something by Arthur C. Clarke on my TBR. I've got this one. I mean, I read Rendezvous with Rama recently. I wasn't thrilled by it, but I want to give him another shot. 2001: A Space Odyssey. And, oh, this will probably be the one I put on, Childhood's End. I hear a lot about that one. So that'll probably be the one. All right, I'm trying to put together a full set of Ender's Game, and I had no idea how many books were in it. Obviously, we got Ender's Game, and we got Speaker for the Dead, and then I believe it's, this is a test. This is a test and I'm failing. I think it's Xenocide, actually, but that's the one I don't have. I think it's Xenocide, and then Ender's Shadow, and then Shadow of the Hegemon, and then Children of the Mind, I think. We're just missing Xenocide here. And there's Ender in Exile, which I'm not sure where that fits in. But I need one more, I think, to make that a set and sell it. Here's some I just found recently. Old editions of books 1 and 2 of the Dark Tower series. I love the Dark Tower series. A big event in my reading career is probably what got me hooked on reading. And I've never seen these before. The super old editions of the Dark Tower. I read the new ones, obviously. Canticle for Leibowitz on my top 10, as you know. Beautiful book. Cynical book. Got some Halo book here. First Strike. And speaking of niche stuff you saw on eBay, Warhammer 40K books. These always sell whenever I see them for $1 or $2. Even if they don't sell on their own, you can lot them up and sell them. And there is a lot of them. Okay, and I got one more science fiction book here. It's my other signed book. Pretty exciting. I got it a little while ago, and I read through some of it. It's interesting. Harlan Ellison's Dream Corridor. It's an anthology that he edits, and he kind of interjects himself in between the stories and has some party banter, like, oh, I met Le Guin back in 1982, and she smoked 2 cigars at once, and I was like, that's what makes a woman, someone who can smoke cigars. And perhaps it's not even his signature, I don't know. I think it is. It looks like it, right? You can see he interjects himself into the stories, and they all have different art styles, very different art styles, which is cool. It's a cool book. I was a bit hesitant to read it, I'll admit, because when I saw the guy's signature in here, I know people love the guy. I don't know how much it might be worth, and you know, me reading it would affect the value of it, which I try to not have affect me too much. You know, the age-old love of money, love of books, balancing act, yin and yang, that I'm always in the middle of. Okay, I gotta do some rearranging here for the fantasy section of this video. Alright, no better place to start than with The Lord of the Rings. This is my favorite edition of the trilogy. Something about it I really enjoy. And I forgot to mention that in my fantasy video. I read The Lord of the Rings. I absolutely love The Lord of the Rings, which is why I'm so surprised I can't find another fantasy book or series that delivers that same experience. I mean, I think I just hit the pinnacle with my first delve into fantasy, and I kind of spoiled myself to the whole genre. That's what I think, at least. I hope not. I like the artwork on this edition of The Lord of the Rings. Bilbo and Gollum there. And even better is Legolas and Gimli here in the Two Towers. Obviously, I have images of these characters in my head because I saw the movies before I read the books, and these are kind of a far cry from them, so it seems kind of absurd. But I like that there's so many renditions of these characters. With them just having been characters in a book, there's a lot of room for interpretation, such as Gandalf here? Gandalf and someone in the Fellowship of the Ring? But Gandalf holding the ring, which makes sense. So is that Bilbo in the background? I think Frodo. My guess would be Frodo there. And we got an edition of The Hobbit, which I've sold before and will sell again. It's a very, very neat, very tidy, very clean, and the classic artwork there. This is what was in my childhood edition of The Hobbit, which is obviously why I have a connection to it. Here's some random tidbits. I'll have to collect the full sets. It's an old Ballantine edition of Lord of the Rings, and yet another old Ballantine edition of Lord of the Rings. This is actually the special Jubilee edition, I believe. Is it the special Jubilee edition? No, it's not. And we have an illustrated encyclopedia of Tolkien, which I love these. I love when I find them. And this one has some nice stuff in it. I'll show you a few here. I love that art style. Ooh, the Ents attack on Isengard. Very abstract. You kind of have to look at it for a little while until you figure out what's going on. Which I like. Which I like. Ooh, yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Okay, what else we got? The complete C.S. Lewis signature edition. Have not read any C.S. Lewis past Chronicles of Narnia. Have not really been recommended any C.S. Lewis past Chronicles of Narnia, so... The Dark Angel trilogy? This was part of that other haul I had of the bookstore closing down. I think I just saw that this was worth something. I don't know anything about it. Strictly for the love of money. Excuse me. Got some Piers Anthony, another author I've never read, but not really being into fantasy. Should I? I don't know. My dad has a lot of Piers Anthony on his shelf. And this was my dad's book, actually, the prequel to The Wheel of Time. He's decided he wants to purge his shelves of all Robert Jordan because he said he felt baited by the series, the Wheel of Time series. He said they always promise something exciting, but then never deliver. And then you think, oh, the next book will have that exciting thing, but then it doesn't. So he gave this to me. It's first edition, so I think it will sell for something, and he wanted to never see it again. So we can satisfy that. This is a cool one. The Monumental Chronicles. This is book 3, and it looks like, I want to say, a Redwall ripoff. I don't know which one was first, but it's got the same woodland creature vibe, the woodland creature aesthetic, and the artwork is so similar. But it's a nice little book. It's a nice little book. We got Spinning Silver by Naomi Novak, which I know I've seen this style before. You see Uprooted all the time, but it's not really saleable. I guess everyone has read it, but this must be a sequel or something. We got The Alchemist graphic novel. You know, when I talked about this in my video, I had no idea it would be one of my most divisive opinions. People don't like The Alchemist, which I was surprised about. It's like this innocent little story about this kid, you know, in search of meaning, but people just thought it was, well, pedantic was the word I got. No, not pedantic. The word that means like childish, which I kind of get, but you know, it hit me. It doesn't hit other people, and that's fine. Oh, here's a good one. The role-playing adventure Lone Wolf books. And these are like old school Dungeons and Dragons. Well, not obviously Dungeons and Dragons was the first one. But these are books that you would read, and you would choose the stats that you want, and you would track them from book to book. Really cool find here. You know, combat stats, and a random number table, which I assume you have to reference a few times in the story. I assume it's like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. And I have a bunch of them. Because something like this, that's like as niche as you can get, right? 3 number ones. Flight from the Dark. Very Dungeons and Dragons. And we got Fire on the Water, number 2. The Caverns of Kalte, number 3. That's definitely an end boss right there. The Evil Priest, some kind of evil magician. The Chasm of Doom, number 4. Shadow on the Sand, number 5, which includes 2 adventures. The Kingdoms of Terror, and lastly, Castle Death. These are really cool. I'm tempted to keep them, but I know someone else definitely wants them more than me. And they all have this cool little art in them as well. It's really cool. And some of them were filled out, which generally, you know, you don't like when you see writing in a book, but a color illustration there. I mean, you got to have a map, right? I guess I should have assumed that. Yeah, here we go. He chose Camouflage, Hunting, Sixth Sense, Mind Shield, and Animal Kinship, of course. Of course, Animal Kinship. There's another trilogy here. Michael J. Sullivan, the Rhyria Revelations. Oh, this is the Rhyria Revelations, book 1, and then we have the Rhyria Chronicles. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that. Luckily, we got all 3 of these. I assume it's a trilogy because it's fantasy, and every fantasy series seems to be a trilogy. It's either a trilogy or it's like a billion books. So I don't know which one these are, but I will be selling them as the trilogy. Here's a neat little book I found, Dragon World, which I think is just a series of dragon-related things. And it's got these neat little like sketch illustrations in there of different dragons. It's very neat, and the size, I think the size is very cute. Very appealing. I like little books like that. Probably explains why I don't like hardcover books. The Gray Mane of Morning by Joy Chant. Don't know anything about this, but the cover art drew me in. Seems like fantasy, maybe fantasy. I wonder if anyone has ever heard of that one. The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern, which I put in here. It's fantasy, right? It's definitely fantasy. I read this a while ago. I actually really enjoyed this book. And you see it all the time in used bookstores. It's nothing special. I wonder if people will even buy it, but it's like a brand new copy, and I'm a sucker for like a brand new copy of a book I've read and a book I've enjoyed. Oh, and it's got this little peekaboo cover, which I just learned, and now I can utilize that term again. That's a plus. But we did find another Witcher book, Sword of Destiny, which I'll probably put on my TBR. I reviewed one of these books. I did like it. This is Tales of the Witcher. I don't know if these are sequential. It probably doesn't matter since I already know the story. I played The Witcher 3. I really enjoyed it. Whew, this is a big boy. Dante Valentine, the complete series. Looks like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer thing. Complete series. Spine is holding on, actually. Spine's doing really well. Good job. Children of the Serpent Gate. This is a random book 3 in some fantasy series, and it's hardcover, so I usually don't buy these. I wonder why I did. And I wonder if it's because it just has a Borders tag on the back, which actually is not even the tag for this book. It's for a book called Sweet Little Lies, so I was baited again. But that Borders tag will go in my Borders tag collection. That sounds pathetic. Oh, here's one of my DNRs from the last review video, Susanna Clark Piranesi. I tried. I don't know, a little too much detail. Just too much setting. A lot of people said I should have stuck with it, and maybe they're right, but I didn't have the patience for it, I guess. Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is a new book. I've actually seen it in some new bookstores. Looks Harry Potter-ish. I'm not sure. Big book, hardcover, 2 strikes against it. Not sure I'm going to put it on my TBR, but I'm sure it will sell. It's brand new condition as well. Got 2 of them, in fact. Both beautiful condition. It's kind of a shame, you know, if someone bought them or was gifted them and was not interested in it. Cassandra Clark, Chain of Iron. It's a collector's first edition, which is very nice looking. It's got some embossing here. A little beat up, but I don't know, I couldn't resist it. I don't know if it's going to be worth anything or it's going to sit on one of my shelves for a while. Either way, that's fine. And we've hit the R.A. Salvatore pocket My God, this guy can write. I don't know the quality of it, I just know the quantity of it. Here we got the Hunter's Blades trilogy. He does all of these, like Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance and Dungeons and Dragons. Are all like in another world, and he just pumps them out, man. This one is Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms. I guess those are connected. Here is the Transitions trilogy. The Orc King, the Pirate King, and of course, the Ghost King. Luckily, I found all three of these because they're much easier to sell. Oh, look what they did there. I guess Wizards of the Coast split into like a separate Dungeons and Dragons. I hate that. How could they do that? Especially for people that are buying these that like to collect them. How's that going to look on a shelf? Oh well. Oh well. What else we got? Servants of the Shard. It's a Forgotten Realms one. Again, R.A. Salvatore. It's an older one, Luthion's Gamble. Not sure what world this is in. The Sword of Bedwyr series. The Crimson Shadow. Haven't heard of that one. That's the first one I've seen of that one. These are always worth something. The collector's edition, I guess they get all the books in the same book, an omnibus. This one is the Icewind Dale trilogy, Forgotten Realms. That'll be an easy sale. Another trilogy, the Spell Sword trilogy. That's what I'm saying, this guy can pump them out. And this is probably like less than half of what he's written. I don't get it. I mean, people talk about Stephen King. Let's talk about R.A. Salvatore. What a beast. This is the Lost Chronicles Volume 1. Big, beefy hardcover, beautiful condition. I just have one in that, I don't have the others. But this one, I do have all three in the Minotaur War series. Big ugly sticker on the front there. I guess this one was $3. Maybe it was the color of the week and it was $1.50. Who can tell at this point? Tides of Blood. These are heavy. My arm's getting tired at this point in the video. So excuse if there's any shaking involved. And these are in perfect condition as well. All three of them. First edition? First edition. So who knows? That could be a really good sale. All three of these. The Minotaur War trilogy. Another big series here, the Spellslinger series, which is 5 books. I found these were all at a library sale, so maybe like 50 cents each. I don't know much about them. I haven't heard anything about them, but when I see something like this, where it's all 5, obviously on red, although with varying degrees of sun bleachedness. I mean, someone's got to be into them, right? It was Orbit. Orbit can be hit or miss, though. Orbit can definitely be hit or miss. The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, another one of my DNFs from last video. This kind of didn't grab me in time. American Gods, Neil Gaiman. Great book. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Great book. And N.K. Jemisin, not the full trilogy, not the full series, but books 1 and 2 of The Dream Blood. Again, you know, brand new condition, big name. I figure someone will want them. Got a Ken Liu, The Grace of Kings. Sold that before. Nice looking book here, Mordu by Alex Femby. I like the art there. It's a nice, like, tiny hardcover. I like hardcovers if they're small like that. Nice and compact. Will fit on a shelf easily. The Nightfall Duology. Again, if there's multiple books in the same book, that's usually a good sale, usually an indicator of some value to somebody. Robert Silverberg, which, is he a fantasy author as well? I don't know why I put it in here as opposed to the science fiction. Majapur Chronicles? I guess Chronicles kind of indicates fantasy, doesn't it? Although that artwork kind of indicates science fiction. So I'm not sure. I guess I was confused when I was segmenting this out as well. Here's a beautiful little book, The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm. Part of the Aragon series by Christopher Paolini. I think that's his name. And this is kind of like lore based on the world. I think like little short stories about little pockets of the world, which is always nice. And like you know, I love these little tiny hardcovers. It's very cute. And we got the first book, Aragon, which I read as a kid and I loved. Although I didn't continue with the series, so I guess I didn't love it enough. I want to accumulate these and sell them as a set, but whenever I see them in the store, they're super beat up. This was one of the few good condition ones that I've found. All right, here's just some vintage fantasy. Thongor Against the Gods. Not sure what that's about. Old Conan. First publication anywhere of Conan. I have my doubts about the reality of that, but it's a cool book anyways. Some more Conan. Science fantasy. There's that word again, science fantasy. What does it mean? Here's an old Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I always pick up Alice in Wonderland when I see it, especially one like this. It's pretty old, but great condition. It really held up. Ooh, I forgot about this one. Definitely my favorite artwork of the entire haul right here. James Branch Cabell, The High Place. Have not heard of it. Have no idea what this is about, but look at that. Gorgeous, front and back. I might put this on my TBR just for the artwork. Is that acceptable? I think so. The Blue Star by Fletcher Pratt. Very psychedelic here. 60s, 70s, I assume. Haven't heard of it. Flashing Swords. This is another anthology. That first one might have been an anthology as well. It's got the same name on it. That's a Frazetta, right? Oh yeah. I don't know why I even questioned that. That's a Frazetta. Okay, this one, I have to describe it as dollar store Lord of the Rings. I have to. I mean, I'm sorry if this was like your cherished childhood story, but it's the Circle of Light books, starting with Greyfax Grimwald. And of course it says it right there, if you love Lord of the Rings, you will like this as well. And perhaps it's aimed at a younger audience or something, but just, I don't know, something about the artwork. We got Farragon Feringay. Welcome to the enchanted twilight world of Atlantan Earth. Calyx Stay. They imprisoned a giant teddy bear, it seems, so perhaps it is aimed at children. And the conclusion, the very differently named Squaring the Circle of the Circle of Light quadrilogy. Quad something. 4 books. Yeah. Okay, Year of the Scarab trilogy, Heralds of the Storm. I think I just saw that this was worth some money, so I picked it up. I don't know anything about it. It's like weird early 90s to late 80s fantasy, urban fantasy. Lay Down with the Lion and The Land of the Dead. And this must be by the same press or something, because it has a very similar vibe to it. But The Ascension Warrior. Oh, this is the Horizon War Volume 2. Oh yes, same publisher. And here's a random Dragonlance, another Singleton Volume 2, ugly. And now we got the Sarah J. Maas pocket here. This is another one. I have never read any of these, but I know they're crazy popular. Throne of Glass, Court of Thorns and Roses, the New Age cover, which I like a lot more, but none of these are worth that much. Here's a little cute book here. Heir of Fire. I guess they have one of these for each book, and you can tell that the people that read these books are all about the aesthetics because of how many different versions of these books are out there and of how beautiful they are all, really. This is the miniature character collection Throne of Glass book, and it is beautiful, I'll admit, and I do want to collect it, so they got me, even someone far removed from their target audience. And a whole bunch of hardcovers here. Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms. Here is the big companion, the big brother to Heir of Fires. It's an ugly outlier here, Tower of Dawn. I'm not sure if that's a Throne of Glass novel or what. And finally, the Kingdom of Ash. And that is it for the haul. 200 plus books. So again, what's good? Let me know. What should I put on my TBR? I do need to fill it up, actually. I'm reading a lot of books and I need to read a lot more. So tell me what your opinion is. What should I read? What do you like? And again, thank you to those first 1,000 of you who hit that encouragement button. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's been awesome, and it continues to be awesome. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.